The drive for 325 has stalled. That's right. College football's most painful to watch parlor game is done. Brian Ferentz, the offensive coordinator at Iowa, will be out at the end of the season. Iowa announced that on Monday afternoon. One of college football's most anemic offenses will have someone else running it next year. Although, remember, it's still Iowa head coach Kirk Ferentz's offense. By the way, that's Brian's dad. And that's why all of this was such a big deal over the last few years. The drive for 325, in case you've been living under a college football rock. In the offseason, Gary Barta, before he retired as Iowa's AD, gave Brian Ferentz a contract that said, you must average 25 points a game, and Iowa must win 7 games, or your contract will terminate after the season. They're not even going to get that far because we know they're not going to average 25 points a game. Iowa is every week flirting with single digits, and it's just not going to happen. The offense is as bad as it's ever been, and unfortunately, that is causing Iowa to waste yet another elite Phil Parker defense. Let's go over some numbers. Let's talk about just how bad this offense is. Iowa's receivers, not running backs, not tight ends, wide receivers, have combined for 26 catches for 259 yards and 2 touchdowns this season. By contrast, LSU's Malik Neighbors caught 13 passes for 239 yards and 2 touchdowns against Mississippi State alone. Iowa has gained 29% of its available yards this season. That's from Brian Fremo's great advanced stats site. What do available yards mean? It means if you get the ball at your own 25, you have 75 available yards. So they're only gaining 30%, roughly 29% of those available yards. Contrast, Michigan is number 2 in the FBS in that stat. They gain 74% of their available yards. Iowa is a number 131 of 133 in that stat. Points per drive, another good advanced stat. Iowa's 120th in the nation, 1.34. Michigan's number 1, 4.42. That's the difference. That's how big of a difference we're talking about. But what makes this so frustrating for everybody, and especially for Iowa fans who have put up with this for a long time, Iowa's defense under Phil Parker, number 4 in the nation, 1.03 points per drive. Number 1 in defensive efficiency. They gain the team 1.36 points every time they set foot on the field. Meanwhile, Iowa's offensive efficiency ranking, number 120 out of 133. Also, another person who has kept this thing afloat is Iowa punter Torrey Taylor. He's pinned opponents inside the 20-yard line 21 times on 54 punts. He also has 23 punts of 50 yards or more because he has to punt it a long way because Iowa's not moving the ball very far on offense. And you can say, oh, this is because of injuries. And yes, they have had injuries. Quarterback Cade McNamara out for the season. Tight end Eric All. Tight end Luke Lachey injured. I get it. But the problem is, other offenses deal with injuries and can still function. Iowa's cannot function. Basically, under Brian Ferentz, Iowa's offense has been in this box where if everything isn't completely perfect, it can't work. That's not sustainable. That can't continue. And Iowa's not going to let it continue. Now, the question is, what will Kirk Ferentz do in terms of looking for a new offensive coordinator? Will he be hiring someone to run this offense, which probably will produce the same results? Or will he let someone spread their wings a little bit? That is going to be the question. One thing that I think would be interesting to see if Kirk Ferentz realizes or notes, the 2 best offenses he's had, when they had Brad Banks, when they had CJ Beathard, what did those 2 guys have in common? They could run around a little bit. Those 2 quarterbacks could move, and that made a little bit of difference. Iowa doesn't seem to sign anybody like that. And let's be honest, with the offense that they've had, why would a good receiver or a good quarterback ever want to play in it? They can say we put offensive linemen in the NFL, we put tight ends in the NFL, and still get interest from those guys. But you're not going to be featured as a receiver in this offense. They can't get it to you. They've got to figure out how to turn that page and change that narrative. Brian Ferentz is going to be okay, by the way. He is a very good offensive line coach. He's going to go somewhere and be a very good offensive line coach. To compound Iowa fans' frustration here, why wasn't Iowa's offensive line that good recently? Oh, wait, Brian wasn't coaching the offensive line. He was coaching the quarterbacks. None of this made sense. None of it worked. And now they're finally going to do something different. Brian Ferentz out at Iowa at the end of the season.
Thank you so much for watching. Just a reminder, subscribe to this channel right here so you never miss an episode of Andy Staples on 3. And oh, by the way, watch all the other great videos on the On3 Sports YouTube channel.